They made a discovery. Buried treasure. Quite old. Something for which none had prepared. Constructed nothingness. Things that are too complex. Facts disproving the conventional wisdom about the past. You won't be merely viewing a video for the next hour. Uncover a previously untold tale of humanity. One that scientists have yet to provide a satisfactory explanation for. For over a century, the Beale treasure has been a source of fascination for Americans. The fact that it supposedly has a capacity of roughly 3 tons of treasure troves of gold, silver, and precious stones stashed away in Virginia. But its discovery will require deciphering 3 long-lost ciphertexts. Rather than maps or images, what we have here are rows and rows of meaningless digits, which may hide the precise whereabouts of one of history's greatest undiscovered riches. The location of the treasure has remained a mystery, as only one of the 3 ciphers has ever been deciphered. Both of the alternates, specific directions for interment, which have remained a mystery that has baffled even the most brilliant brains since the 1800s. A story of wealth and fortune isn't all this is. Human intelligence and a secret coded in numbers are caught in an endless pursuit. Shall we jump right in? 3 seemingly meaningless cipher messages written as lengthy sequences of numbers are at the center of the entire Beale mythology. Thomas J. Beale, in 1822, supposedly left these ciphers behind. According to legend, he stowed them in an iron container and gave it to an inmate by the name of Robert Morris, with a long note accompanying it that described an expedition, the finding of gold, and the interment of a tremendous wealth. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 denote the 3 ciphers. Cipher 1 specifies the precise spot where the loot is stashed, as stated in the corresponding letter. The second cipher details the treasure's worth and what it contains. Those who participated in Beale's voyage are named, and their relatives are listed in Cipher 3. Surprisingly, Cipher 2 has been the only one used for more than a century, solved, and the key was found in the Declaration of Independence of the United States. For example, the word 115 is associated with the 115th word in the Declaration since each number is matched to a word. The message is deciphered. In an excavation or vault 6 feet below ground level, I have deposited in Bedford County, approximately 4 miles from Beaufort's. The wealth consists of diamonds, precious stones of immeasurable value, 5,100 pounds in silver, and 2,921 pounds in gold, according to the message. Legend has it that the buried riches was discovered around the year 1820 in a site that will remain secret. Cipher 1, which is meant to provide the precise location, however, remains a mystery to experts. It has still not been solved in any way. The original text meant to serve as the key has remained a mystery. Without it, the wealth looks destined to stay hidden deep within American soil, unknown to the world forever. A small number of authorities have gone so far as to speculate that Cipher 1 is all an elaborate hoax, designed to be impossible to crack, illogical, or the product of some kind of alien technology. 19th century encryption methods. Do you have any opinions? Is it possible that the correct key has yet to be found for cipher number 1? On the other hand, isn't it all just a narrative meant to pique people's interest and intellect? Let us know what you think. Theories, leave a comment on your experience trying to crack the Beale cipher. The B wealth is described on an incredible scale according to the content deciphered from cipher number 2, the only one ever decrypted. 3.5 tons of pure gold, more than 23 metric tons of silver, and a plenty of invaluable jewels. An entire kingdom's wealth in the 19th century, when paper money was rare and wealth was measured in precious metals, would have been equivalent to such a fortune. By today's standards, the combined value of the gold and silver in this collection would exceed $100 million. The number alone, nevertheless, does not do justice to this priceless gem. If the story turns out to be real, it could have significant cultural, archaeological, and historical value. Consequently, the Beale treasure wouldn't only be riches, but a hidden artifact from the United States' past. Thomas Jefferson Beale is at the center of the entire Beale treasure mythology. Had a guy pen the letter that was left to Robert Morris and the expedition leader who had found a huge gold deposit in the American West. In order to make sure that the information was completely secure, the tale goes that Beale and his friends moved some of the riches eastward and buried it in a hidden spot in Virginia. However, what deeply troubles historians is this. There is no historical record confirming the existence of Thomas J. Beale. No census data, no legal documents, no physical evidence. The fact that such a central figure is completely absent from history has led many to believe that he may be a fictional character invented by an anonymous author to craft a mysterious and captivating tale. If that is the case, then the Bee treasure is not merely a physical enigma, but a sophisticated mind game, one that is played on human curiosity and belief for over a century. Since the early 20th century, hundreds of cryptographers, independent researchers, treasure hunters, and even the FBI have attempted to crack the Bee ciphers. Yet to this day, no one has succeeded in decoding cipher number 1 or number 3, the two considered most crucial, as one supposedly reveals the treasure's exact location and the other lists the names of those involved. The complete silence from these seemingly random sequences of numbers has deeply divided the research community, giving rise to multiple theories. Some believe that the key text is not the Declaration of Independence, but perhaps a rare or now lost document. Others argue that the ciphers are an elaborate hoax, never intended to lead to any treasure, but rather crafted to ignite curiosity for generations. And then there are those who warn of a darker possibility, that the codes were deliberately constructed to be unsolvable, following no real encryption logic at all, like a lock with no key or a cruel joke that has misled the world. For over a century, although only one cipher has ever been successfully decoded, for over a century, thousands of people have flocked to Bedford County, Virginia in search of the Beale treasure. From professional treasure hunters and independent researchers to curious locals, everyone carried the belief that they might be the one to crack the remaining ciphers. The area surrounding Buford's Tavern, reportedly where Beale once stayed, has been repeatedly and illegally excavated, prompting local authorities to issue strict bans and warnings against unauthorized digging. Some have spent their entire lives trying to unlock cipher number 1. Others have written books, produced documentaries, hosted seminars, and proposed countless theories ranging from using the Bible, the works of Shakespeare and Freemason documents, to employing complex modern encryption techniques based on mathematical matrices. Yet to this day, all remain mere speculation, and the hunt for the treasure continues like an unending quest. To this day, the remaining 2 ciphers remain unsolved. No one knows for certain whether the Beale treasure is real. But perhaps that's what makes the story eternal, because humans are forever drawn to the unknown. If the treasure does exist, it could still be lying untouched beneath the soil of Virginia, waiting for someone to find the right key. But if it's a hoax, then it might be the cleverest riddle in cryptographic history, one that has outwitted humanity for more than a century. Amid the desolate desert plains of southern Peru, where almost no life survives, a 1,000-year-old question still hangs in the sky. Who created these colossal drawings? Some stretching hundreds of meters that can only be fully seen from the air. Images of birds, monkeys, spiders, and fish are etched into the ground, unwavering in their precision, unchanged through time, and most astonishingly, still intact after more than 2 millennia. This isn't just an archaeological marvel. It's a direct challenge to human intellect. How did a civilization with no satellites, no airplanes, no GPS, manage to create designs so precise they align to the curve? The Nazca Lines remain an unsolved enigma, one that the more we look, the more it challenges our understanding of ancient knowledge. The Nazca Lines are not merely giant drawings in the sand. They stand as evidence of a level of technical skill far beyond what we imagine for an ancient civilization. On the arid highlands of Peru, hundreds of geoglyphs unfold, from straight lines stretching for kilom to intricate geometric patterns. But most remarkable are over 70 figures depicting animals and plants drawn with near-perfect proportions and symmetry. A striking example is the monkey figure with its spiral tail rendered in flawless, evenly spaced coils, or the spider with its 8 evenly distributed legs and such detailed anatomy that entomologists can identify the species based on its clearly etched reproductive organs. The condor with outstretched wings, the whale, the hummingbird, all exhibit such geometric precision that it defies belief, especially considering the Nazca had no modern measuring tools. This isn't just art. It's a sophisticated geometric language that transcends time. What amazes scientists the most is not just the scale of the drawings, but the fact that the Nazca people created them without being able to see the full picture from the ground. From human eye level, all one sees are long, narrow trenches. Only from several hundred meters in the air do the complete figures become visible. Giant monkeys, spiders, or hummingbirds. So, how could a pre-industrial civilization draw with such precision? Some theories suggest they used ropes, wooden stakes, and manual measuring techniques to determine proportions and trace the shapes. However, even if we can partially reconstruct their methods, the accuracy they achieved in terms of scale, symmetry, and alignment still far exceeds conventional explanation. This remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of modern science. What do you think? Could the Nazca people have developed a lost technique? Or did they have help from something we still don't understand? Share your theory in the comments below. One of the most striking examples of the Nazca Lines' precision is the hummingbird figure nearly 90 m long. Though drawn with thin, delicate lines, the entire figure maintains perfect symmetry from its wings and body to its tail, all proportioned with such accuracy that deviations do not exceed a few degrees. Equally astonishing is the spider figure. Its 8 legs are evenly carved and sharply defined, and most notably, its reproductive organ, a key feature used in entomological species identification, is clearly depicted. This reflects a deep anatomical understanding possessed by the Nazca people. The monkey figure, nearly 135 m long, features a spiral tail that curves with flawless consistency, as if it were calculated using modern instruments. All of these figures demonstrate a remarkable fusion of art, mathematics, and engineering far beyond what we typically attribute to ancient civilizations. One of the most intriguing theories explaining how the Nazca created their enormous geoglyphs is the possibility that they once observed them from above. Could they have built rudimentary hot air balloons using woven fabric, animal hides, and fire, materials readily available within their culture? Researcher Jim Woodman conducted an experiment and suggested that a simple balloon like this could indeed rise briefly, just long enough to view an entire geoglyph from the air. If this theory is accurate, it points to a remarkable capability. The Nazca not only possessed technical thinking, but also knew how to apply it to observe and design from a vantage point that most ancient civilizations could never access. However, even if they had an aerial view, translating that perspective into precise lines on the ground remains an extraordinary achievement. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Nazca Lines is their ability to remain intact for over 2,000 years. The Nazca Desert has one of the driest climates in the world, virtually no rainfall and very little wind, which helps protect the geoglyphs from natural erosion. However, that alone doesn't fully explain their astonishing sharpness after millennia. If the lines hadn't been carved with consistent depth and precise planning, they could have easily deformed over time. The fact that most of the figures have retained their clarity without shifting or fading shows that the Nazca were not only skilled in design, but also had a deep understanding of the physical properties of soil and rock, ensuring the long-term durability of their creations. The astonishing precision of the Nazca Lines carries more than just technical significance. It also opens up fascinating interpretations related to ancient spiritual beliefs and astronomy. Many researchers suggest that the lines and figures could represent a celestial map, mimicking the movements of constellations and the sun, or functioning as a ceremonial agricultural calendar. Some of the long straight lines stretching for Kilom are believed to align with the sunrise or sunset during solstices and equinoxes. However, not all figures align with known astronomical patterns, raising further questions. Did the Nazca create them for ritualistic or religious purposes, or perhaps as a form of communication with supernatural entities they believed dwelled in the sky? It is precisely the unusual design and near-perfect precision of the Nazca Lines that have sparked many fringe theories, most notably the theory of extraterrestrial involvement. Some theorists suggest that these massive geoglyphs were messages intended for beings from outer space, or that the Nazca were influenced by flying entities they may have witnessed. In particular, the long, flat, perfectly straight lines are so unnaturally precise that many people liken them to runways for landing and takeoff. Although there is no scientific evidence to support this theory, the mysterious shapes and advanced techniques continue to make the Nazca Lines a central topic in never-ending debates. After everything we've uncovered, precision, mystery, ancient ingenuity, what do you think is the true purpose behind the Nazca Lines? Were they art, astronomy, ritual, or something else entirely? Drop your theory in the comments. We'd love to hear your take. Modern tools, satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, drones have helped uncover more previously unknown designs. Yet, even as hundreds more may emerge, the core question remains: how did an ancient civilization create such massive, almost mathematically perfect figures without modern measuring instruments? The Nazca Lines aren't just an archaeological treasure. They're a challenge to what we think we know about ancient mathematics, engineering, culture, and imagination. And among all their astonishing features, it is their near-perfect geometric precision and proportion that stands as the most powerful testament to the genius and enduring mystery of the Nazca people. In the mid-19th century, when the Arctic remained a vast frozen blank spot on the map, a place where even sunlight struggled to survive, Britain threw its full weight behind a grand ambition: to find a Northwest Passage, a strategic shortcut to Asia. And to chase that dream, they didn't dispatch just any expedition. They sent a superior force armed with the pride of an empire and the most advanced technology of its time. In 1845, under the command of Sir John Franklin, a legend in naval exploration, two ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, set sail into the eternal ice. Outfitted with ironclad hulls, powerful steam engines, 3 years' worth of provisions, and a hand-picked crew, it was a mission that many believed was unstoppable. But then they never returned. No signals, no messages, not a single trace at first. An expedition too advanced to fail had vanished entirely into the polar wilderness, launching a terrifying mystery that would haunt history for over a century, defying science, reason, and our deepest faith in progress. What do you think really happened to the Franklin expedition? An unforeseen accident, overconfidence in technology, or something more mysterious that we still haven't uncovered? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your theory might just be the missing piece to this enduring mystery. What set the Franklin expedition apart from all its predecessors was not only its ambition, but the extraordinary level of technological preparation it carried into the Arctic. HMS Erebus and HMS Terror were no ordinary vessels. They were veteran warships, newly retrofitted with cutting-edge innovations for polar survival. Their wooden hulls were reinforced with thick iron plating to break through sea ice. For the first time in Arctic exploration, the ships were fitted with steam engines, allowing propulsion even when wind failed. An enormous advantage in the frozen, windless north. Even more impressively, they featured centralized heating systems that piped warm air throughout the lower decks, offering comfort in the sub-zero cold. The crew brought along over 3 years of provisions, mostly preserved in newly invented tin cans. It was a marvel of 19th-century naval engineering, a mobile fortress built to conquer ice and time. Yet, despite this near-futuristic preparedness, the expedition vanished. And that cruel irony, the best-equipped mission becoming the most tragic, continues to haunt historians to this day. Beyond the cutting-edge ships and modern equipment, the Franklin expedition was manned by a team carefully selected for skill and experience. A total of 129 men, many of them seasoned sailors, medical officers, and scientific specialists, were chosen to represent the best of the Royal Navy. Leading them was Sir John Franklin, a respected Arctic veteran in his 50s, known for both courage and determination. His previous expeditions had earned him admiration and trust, making him an ideal commander for this ambitious journey. With a strong leader, a capable crew, and every possible advantage at their disposal, the mission was seen as destined for triumph. No one imagined it would end in silence and tragedy. After departing England in May 1845 and making a last stop in Greenland to take on supplies and send letters home, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror disappeared into the Arctic without a trace. There were no distress signals, no logs recovered, no survivors. Months turned into years with total silence. Families waited. The Navy grew anxious. Rumors spread across Europe, but no facts emerged. It was as if 129 men and 2 heavily armed ships had been swallowed whole by the ice. The complete absence of information created not just fear, but a chilling sense of helplessness. An expedition designed to conquer nature had been utterly erased by it. More than 2 years passed with no word from the Franklin expedition. As public concern grew, pressure mounted, led especially by Lady Franklin, the captain's determined wife, to urge the British government into action. Over the next 20 years, more than 30 search expeditions were launched into the Arctic, making it one of the most extensive rescue efforts in maritime history. Bit by bit, these missions began uncovering fragments of a tragedy. Abandoned campsites, torn pieces of uniforms, rusting tools, and hastily scribbled notes sealed in tin canisters. The most revealing clue came from a single document found in a can on King William Island. It confirmed that the ships had been locked in ice since 1846 and that Sir John Franklin had died the following year. In 1848, the remaining crew, facing starvation, scurvy, and hopeless isolation, made a desperate decision. They abandoned the ships and attempted to trek over 1,000 kilometers through the unforgiving Arctic wilderness, pulling lifeboats on sledges. None would survive. They never reached safety. As search teams followed the trail of the retreating men, they began to uncover a far more disturbing reality. Scattered along the icy route were human bones, some cracked open, others bearing deep-cut marks as if deliberately butchered. Forensic examinations, even in modern times, revealed clear signs of dismemberment and possible boiling. Chemical analysis supported what had long been whispered. In the final stages of desperation, some members of the expedition may have resorted to cannibalism to survive. In Victorian England, this revelation was devastating. The idea that noble British sailors, officers, and gentlemen could commit such acts shocked the nation's moral core. Fearing disgrace, the British government downplayed or outright denied the findings for decades, burying the truth beneath national pride. Over the next 150 years, as the ice continued to guard its secrets, the mystery surrounding the Franklin expedition only grew deeper. Despite decades of searching, no one could locate the wrecks of HMS Erebus and HMS Terror. Countless theories emerged to explain what had happened. Some blamed lead poisoning from the newly adopted tin food, possibly due to poorly sealed soldering. Others suspected scurvy or tuberculosis, while some believed that the crews simply became disoriented in the ice, lost their way, and succumbed to exposure and starvation. There were even whispers of conflict with indigenous groups, although no solid evidence ever confirmed such claims. Each theory seemed plausible yet incomplete, like fragments of a puzzle that never quite formed a full picture. Then a major breakthrough came more than a century and a half later, in 2014, and again in 2016. Teams of archaeologists and researchers from Parks Canada, working closely with Inuit communities whose oral histories proved instrumental, finally discovered the two ships beneath the frigid waters of the Canadian Arctic. To the astonishment of many, both vessels were remarkably well preserved, with many interior compartments still intact, almost frozen in time. But what shocked researchers most was their location, far from where the crew's final written records had placed them. This suggested something wholly unexpected, that the ships might have drifted after abandonment or perhaps were reordered and moved by some of the surviving crew rather than offering closure. These discoveries opened a floodgate of new questions. If the ships were still intact, why were they abandoned in the first place? Did the crew miscalculate how long they'd be trapped in ice? Did critical systems like heating or engines fail at a decisive moment? Were they suffering from delirium caused by poisoning or illness? Or could it be that the very tools and innovations meant to protect them, like steam engines and canned food, ultimately hastened their demise? Today, the story of the Franklin expedition serves not only as a maritime mystery, but as a profound warning. It reminds us of the limits of human control, of how even the most advanced technology can falter when faced with nature's unrelenting force. It is a tale of imperial overconfidence, of bold ambition colliding with a reality more brutal than expected. Over time, this tragedy has been reinterpreted through books, academic research, fictional retellings, and popular media, including the haunting series, The Terror. Inuit oral traditions continue to offer unique insights, often overlooked in colonial accounts. And yet, the central question remains chillingly unresolved. What truly killed 129 men on a voyage meant to redefine the map of the world? Their frozen bodies, their scattered belongings, and their ghost ships remain silent witnesses to a story still waiting for its final chapter. Amid the thick mist of the Sierra Nevada rainforest, where the cries of jungle birds echo like ancient whispers, lies a stone city buried by time. No walls, no grand gates, only moss-covered steps leading into a world almost entirely unknown to the modern mind. Ciudad Perdida, the lost city, is not legend, but a living testament to the brilliance and craftsmanship of a once thriving, now forgotten civilization. The Tirona, built in the 9th century, 600 years before Machu Picchu, Ciudad Perdida is not just an archaeological site. It is a fully realized architectural ecosystem nestled in the wild as if it never needed the outside world. Every terrace, every stone path, every water channel speaks of careful consideration, of terrain, of climate, and of spiritual harmony. A city without wheels, without metal, yet enduring stronger than time itself. And the most astonishing part, you can't reach it by plane or car. Only by walking, trekking through rainforest, crossing rivers, and climbing ancient stone steps. Just as the Tirona once did, can you discover that some secrets only reveal themselves when you truly dare to enter. Unlike other famous archaeological sites easily reached by bus or cable car, Ciudad Perdida can only be accessed on foot. The journey here is not for the faint of heart. You must hike for 4 to 6 days through dense tropical rainforest, navigating slippery mud-covered trails, climbing steep mountain slopes, crossing fast-flowing rivers, and enduring the suffocating humidity characteristic of the jungle. In the final stretch, visitors must ascend over 1,200 ancient stone steps to reach the heart of the city. This hardship has become an invisible shield, preserving Ciudad Perdida in its pure, untouched state, never commercialized or overwhelmed by mass tourism. With every moss-covered step, you're not just entering an archaeological site. You're walking through layers of ancient memory where time itself seems to have paused deep within the forest. During the Spanish colonial conquest of the Americas, not a single historical document mentions Ciudad Perdida. Hidden deep within the rugged Sierra Nevada mountains, the city lacked gold mines or notable resources and thus completely escaped the notice of the conquistadors. For centuries, it lay buried beneath dense jungle and mist, its existence unknown to the outside world. It wasn't until 1972 that Ciudad Perdida was accidentally discovered by a group of treasure hunters who followed ancient stone steps through the forest in search of gold. Word spread quickly, and in a short time, many valuable artifacts were looted and sold across the black market. This prompted archaeologists and the Colombian government to step in. Official excavations were soon launched, marking a new chapter for Ciudad Perdida. Once forgotten in the shadows for hundreds of years, it now gradually emerged into the light of science. Like an ancient gem unearthed after a long slumber in history, Ciudad Perdida once served as a major political, religious, and commercial hub of the Tirana civilization, a society that thrived long before the Spanish arrived. Renowned for their sophisticated gold craftsmanship, robust trade networks, and organized social structure, the Tirana were one of the most advanced pre-Columbian cultures in the region. However, their civilization was nearly erased during colonial conflicts and was forced deep into the mountains. Today, their descendants, the Kogi Arawaco and Wewa peoples, still live in the Sierra Nevada and regard Ciudad Perdida as sacred. They believe it to be the heart of the world, a place where natural and spiritual energy is balanced. Traditional ceremonies are still held in the city with the belief that the spirits of their ancestors continue to dwell there. Among all the mysteries that Ciudad Perdida holds, what astonishes and earns the greatest respect from archaeologists is the incredibly complex architectural and urban planning system built by the Tirana people entirely by hand without wheels, draft animals, or metal tools. And yet the entire city operated smoothly and sustainably for over a millennium in some of the harshest natural conditions imaginable. Humid tropical rainforest, steep mountain sides, and relentless annual rainfall. Ciudad Perdida contains over 169 large stone platforms, meticulously carved and arranged in perfect circular or elliptical shapes. On each platform once stood houses made of bamboo and palm leaves, light, easily replaceable materials suited to the local climate. These platforms weren't isolated. They were interconnected by hand-carved stone staircases, flagstone paths, and most impressively, a highly sophisticated water drainage network. This is what makes Ciudad Perdida a remarkable testament to ancient systems thinking. In the tropical rainforest, where rainfall is extremely high, without proper drainage, the entire settlement would quickly erode. But the Tirana built narrow drainage channels running alongside the paths designed to collect rainwater, prevent flooding, channel runoff, and reduce erosion, all while keeping the stone foundations dry and stable. More importantly, this system was not built as an afterthought, but strategically designed based on the natural terrain, making full use of slopes, guiding water flow precisely, and selecting construction sites that were elevated yet near reliable water sources. From transporting hundreds of thousands of heavy stones through rugged terrain to managing water and stabilizing foundations, every detail shows the Tirana's deep understanding of physics, hydrology, and geology. Despite having no modern technology, this was not merely construction, but the creation of an urban ecosystem in harmony with nature, which operated sustainably for over 1,200 years without technological intervention. Beyond daily living functions, Ciudad Perdida clearly served as a ceremonial and administrative center. Some platforms are very large, likely used for rituals or community gatherings. Others are more secluded, higher up, and farther from the center, probably reserved for priests or local elites. This spatial arrangement reflects not just social organization, but also a religious hierarchy where elevation symbolized proximity to the heavens, a sacred space connecting humans with the divine. Amazingly, after more than 1,200 years exposed to rain, jungle heat, and mountain mist, many of these stone structures remain nearly intact. No cement, no deep foundations, no modern reinforcements, just stone, ingenuity, and time, yet strong enough to withstand the forces of nature. This stone city is not just a physical legacy. It is a profound statement on the durability of ancient engineering and the harmony between humans and the environment. With Tudad Perida, the Torona achieved something the modern world is still trying to master, living within nature and enduring alongside it, not against it. What do you think about the architectural skills of the Torona people? If they managed to build a sustainable city deep in the jungle that has lasted over 1,200 years without any modern machines, are we underestimating the intelligence of our ancestors? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Ciudad Pita is more than just a physical destination. It's a journey inward. The remoteness, the absence of cell service, technology, or noise forces visitors to confront nature, history, and themselves. In the stillness of the jungle, one can almost feel the breath of a forgotten civilization, as if the Torona are still here, watching us walk the same stone steps they once carved by hand, guided by faith and wisdom. Ciudad Perida is not for everyone, but for those with patience, courage, and passion. It is a journey that forever changes how we view the ancient world and ourselves. This is not just a lost city. It is a living legacy hidden deep within the forest, still whispering the story of human resilience, belief, and ingenuity in the face of nature. An isolated island in the middle of the ocean. No machines, no large animals, no contact with the outside world. And yet, from this seemingly desolate land, hundreds of massive stone statues suddenly emerged, challenging every limit of human capability. This is Rapa Nui, Easter Island, a symbol of mystery and timeless creativity. But behind the motionless Moai statues lies a question that has baffled scientists for decades. What caused the complete collapse of the civilization that built these wonders? Did they destroy their environment to the point of extinction? Or is the truth far more complex and cruel, with outside forces ultimately pushing them over the edge? The story of Rapa Nui is not just a historical enigma. It may also serve as a stark warning for all of humanity today. In your opinion, what truly caused the collapse of the Rapa Nui civilization? Was it self-inflicted environmental destruction or uncontrollable external forces? Share your thoughts in the comments. Every perspective might help shed light on one of the greatest mysteries in human history. Around the 12th to 13th centuries, the first Polynesian settlers arrived on Rapa Nui, a completely isolated island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and began building a tightly organized society. Despite facing harsh natural conditions such as barren soil, limited resources, dry climate, and the absence of large animals to aid in production, they developed remarkably advanced stone carving techniques. Over 900 Moai statues were sculpted from volcanic rock at the Reno Roraka quarry, many standing up to 10 m tall and weighing tens of tons, reflecting a deep belief in ancestral power, sacred authority, and a complex spiritual social order. The creation and transportation of these massive statues required a sophisticated labor system, exceptional technical knowledge, and an economy strong enough to support large-scale production. This is why the eventual decline of this civilization after just a few centuries remains a haunting mystery for researchers around the world. For decades, the most widely accepted theory explaining the collapse of the Rapa Nui civilization has been the so-called ecocide hypothesis. According to this view, the islanders themselves destroyed their environment to the point of no return. To transport the massive Moai statues from the Reno Roraka quarry to ceremonial platforms along the coast. It is believed that they cut down nearly all of the island's trees, using the trunks as rollers, levers, or makeshift tracks. Once the forest vanished, the ecosystem rapidly collapsed. The soil eroded severely. Underground water sources dried up. Agricultural productivity plummeted, and many native birds and animals became extinct. The resulting food shortages are thought to have triggered violent tribal conflicts, bloody civil wars, and even archaeological evidence hinting at episodes of cannibalism. By the 17th century, this once thriving civilization had fallen into devastating ruin. This hypothesis is supported by the toppled Moai statues, destroyed AU platforms, complete deforestation, and native legends recounting a time of chaos. Some scholars have even described Rapa Nui as a microcosm of Earth, a tragic example of what can happen when humanity exhausts its natural resources. In recent years, a wave of new research has cast serious doubt on the long dominant ecocide hypothesis. Scholars such as Terry Hunt and Carl Lipo have presented archaeological evidence, soil analyses, and social models suggesting that the Rapa Nui people were not the primary cause of their ecological collapse, as widely believed. On the contrary, they may have responded intelligently and flexibly to a gradually deteriorating environment. One crucial factor often overlooked in the old theory is the Polynesian rat, a species brought to the island aboard the settlers' canoes. These rats consumed the seeds of the native palm trees, preventing the forest from regenerating even if humans attempted reforestation. Thus, it may have been the rats, not human overexploitation, that played the leading role in deforestation. Furthermore, the Rapa Nui's use of rock gardens, fields covered in layers of stones, are now recognized as a smart agricultural adaptation, helping to retain moisture, regulate soil temperature, prevent erosion, and extend the land's fertility. All of this suggests that the Rapa Nui were neither foolish nor greedy as once portrayed, but rather a highly organized, innovative, and resilient society capable of adaptation in the face of an increasingly harsh environment. One crucial factor often overlooked in older models explaining the collapse of Rapa Nui is European intervention. Beginning in the 18th century, Dutch, Spanish, British, and later Peruvian ships arrived on the island, bringing not only goods but also weapons, alcohol, diseases, and profound cultural disruption. However, the most devastating blow came in the 1860s when Peruvian slave ships raided the island and abducted hundreds of Rapa Nui people, including the entire elite class, chiefs, priests, and those literate in the ancient Rangarango script. When a few survivors returned, they brought with them smallpox, a deadly disease that further devastated an already shrinking population. In this context, it wasn't just lives that were lost, but also knowledge, culture, and the very structure of Rapa Nui society. This has led many modern researchers to conclude that the true collapse didn't occur before European contact, but was rather a consequence of invasion, exploitation, and external destruction far beyond any internal misstep the society may have made. Despite enduring a series of tragedies, enslavement, disease, and the collapse of their social order, the Rapa Nui people did not disappear. As many in the West once believed, they continued to survive on their island, preserving oral traditions about their ancestors, rituals associated with the Moai statues, and quietly maintaining their cultural identity. For centuries, the outside world assumed that the builders of these monumental structures had gone extinct. But in truth, that culture was never entirely erased. It simply transformed, endured, and adapted through waves of invasion and ecological upheaval. Today, scholars are working to decode the unique Rangarango script, one of the few writing systems developed in complete isolation. If successful, it could unlock deeper insights into the history, worldview, and true causes behind the collapse of the Rapa Nui civilization. Easter Island is not just a tale of a civilization that fell due to deforestation. It is a multifaceted case study where environment, humanity, invasive species, cultural invasion, and disease all intersect. The forests may have disappeared, but that doesn't mean the culture vanished with them. There may have been civil unrest, but there were also creative solutions for survival. And perhaps it was external forces, not internal self-destruction, that delivered the final blow. What do you think? Did the Rapa Nui people truly cause their own collapse? Or were they victims of a chain of events no civilization could control? Leave a comment and join the discussion on one of the greatest survival lessons in human history. Music. In 1898, on a quiet farmstead in Kensington, Minnesota, a Swedish immigrant named Olof Oman set out to remove a tree stump. Just another routine task. But instead of hitting roots, his shovel struck something hard. As stone. Because it was stone, a rectangular slab weighing nearly 200 pounds, buried deep beneath the soil for centuries. And what made it extraordinary wasn't its shape, but the strange carvings etched across its surface. Mysterious runes from a world long lost to time. Not English, not Latin, and not any language from modern Europe or the Americas. It was Old Norse runic script once used by Vikings and medieval Scandinavian peoples. And when translated, the inscription revealed a chilling tale of a group of Norwegians and Swedes who arrived in this land in the year 1362, more than 130 years before Columbus ever set foot in the New World. One accidental strike, one unexpected discovery, and with it, a mystery ignited, one that threatens to upend everything we thought we knew about. Official history. What do you think? Is this an unrecognized piece of historical evidence or an elaborate hoax from the 19th century? Leave a comment and join the discussion. When the runic inscriptions on the Kensington stone were decoded, they revealed a chilling tale, a tragedy from the 14th century. According to the text, a group of 22 Norwegians and 8 Swedes had set out from Vinland, the land once touched by Viking explorers, on a journey deep into the North American interior. Their likely goal was to survey the terrain and search for potential settlement areas in a world not yet fully mapped. However, the stone does not speak of triumph. Near the end of the inscription, a desperate line appears. We have 10 men red with blood and dead. No further explanation is given, which only deepens the mystery. Were they ambushed by indigenous people, killed by internal conflict, or simply unable to survive the harsh wilderness? Whatever the cause, the message carved into stone stands as a haunting testament, a silent cry from the past, left in the forest, waiting centuries to be discovered by the modern world. What shocked scholars the most wasn't the tragic tale carved into the stone, but rather the specific date, the year 1362, a simple number with the potential to shake the very foundations of mainstream historical understanding. If the stone was truly created at that time, it would not only confirm the presence of Vikings in North America, already evidenced at the Lonso Meadows site in Canada, but would open the door to a far more astonishing possibility that medieval Scandinavians had traveled thousands of kilometers deep into the continent, crossing untamed lands, vast lakes, and uncharted forests all the way to what is now the state of Minnesota. In the 14th century, most of Europe wasn't even aware of the American continent's existence, let alone exploring its interior. If such a journey really took place, our entire understanding of the pre-Columbian era, long anchored to the year 1492, would have to be fundamentally re-examined. From a moment it was made public, the Kensington runstone became the focal point of fierce academic debate that has lasted for over a century. Many linguists argued that the runes carved into the stone display unusual features. They don't fully adhere to the conventions of classical runic alphabets, but instead seem to mix in modern elements, some even resembling 19th century writing styles. This led to the formation of a compelling theory that the stone might be an elaborate forgery created by its discoverer, Olaf Oman, either to gain attention or to celebrate Scandinavian heritage among the Swedish-Norwegian immigrant community living in the American Midwest at the time. However, this explanation has faced significant pushback. Some scholars point out that the vocabulary, grammatical structures, and linguistic nuances found on the stone reflect a deep knowledge of medieval Scandinavian dialects, knowledge that only began to be systematically studied by experts in the mid-century. In other words, it is hard to believe that a rural farmer in late 19th century Minnesota could have forged such a complex medieval text without immediate detection. This paradox has placed the Kensington runstone in a strange limbo, detailed enough to possibly be real, but suspicious enough to be called a hoax. And because of that, it continues to live on in the endless cycle of scholarly controversy. To move beyond the often subjective debates in linguistics, modern researchers turn to the field of geology in search of a more objective answer to the Kensington runstone age. They conducted detailed analyses of weathering patterns, erosion marks, and the accumulation of microcrystals within the grooves of the runic carvings. Initial results indicated that the level of surface erosion and aging was consistent with an object that had existed for several centuries, not merely a few decades as skeptics had claimed. Furthermore, some chemical studies on the iron oxide deposits inside the carved lines revealed oxidation processes that had occurred over a long period, suggesting that the stone may indeed date back to the medieval era. While these findings are not yet definitive, they have undermined the argument that the runestone is simply a 19th century hoax and have added credibility to the theory that it was genuinely carved in the year 1362, just as the inscription itself declares. For the Swedish and Norwegian American communities, the Kensington runestone is not merely an archaeological artifact. It is a powerful symbol of ethnic pride and a bold affirmation of their ancestors' early presence in America. In the late 19th century, as waves of immigrants from Scandinavia poured into the United States, these communities faced cultural barriers and yearned for something to anchor their identity in the new land. The discovery of the stone, controversial as it may be, became an emotional proof. We were here first. It served as a story that connected newer generations to their Nordic roots, fostering a belief that their ancestral history had not been lost in the vast current of modern American life. Today, the stone is displayed with honor at the Runestone Museum in Alexandria, Minnesota, a place that draws thousands of visitors each year, all coming to see it for themselves and ask what really happened in 1362. More than a century has passed, and the mystery of the Kensington runestone still remains unresolved. But more important than determining whether it is real or fake is the deeper question it raises about how we understand history. Have we truly uncovered all there is to know about our past? Or are there countless stories and pieces of evidence still buried beneath layers of earth waiting to be unearthed? The Kensington runestone has become a symbol of the clash between physical evidence and established knowledge, a place where what is real isn't always accepted and what is taught isn't always the whole truth. In the end, history is not a closed book, but rather a painting that can always be redrawn whenever humanity discovers a new missing piece. The man who believed in its existence was no dreamer. He was a military officer, a seasoned explorer, a rational archaeologist, Colonel Percy Harrison Fawcett. And then in 1925, he ventured into the forest with his son and vanished without a trace. No message, no body, no explanation, only a question that has echoed for 100 years. What did he find, and why did he never return? If it were you, would you dare venture into the Amazon jungle to search for a city no one has ever seen, knowing you might never return? Or do you believe Percy Fawcett actually discovered something and chose never to come back? Share your theory in the comments below. The origins of the lost city of Z legend began with the surveying expeditions of Colonel Percy Fawcett, a British Army officer, geographer, and explorer who was tasked with mapping the border between Brazil and Bolivia in the early 20th century. Over many years of trekking through uncharted jungles and crossing rivers, Fawcett not only faced swarms of mosquitoes, venomous snakes, diseases, and unexplored lands, but also repeatedly heard stories from local tribes about a mysterious civilization buried by time. According to these accounts, deep within the Amazon lies a stone-built city featuring towering columns, intricately carved walls, and strange symbols that had never been documented in the known history of South America. Fawcett's belief was not based on oral accounts alone. He had found a specific piece of evidence, manuscript 512, an 18th century document preserved in Brazil's National Library. This manuscript described in detail an abandoned stone city with complex architecture, unusual stone statues, and an undeciphered writing system. For Fawcett, if the content of this manuscript was true, it would prove that the Amazon had once been home to a highly developed civilization, possibly rivaling the Inca or Maya, rather than merely a land inhabited by primitive tribes, as commonly believed at the time. In 1925, Percy Fawcett set out on what he believed would be the final expedition of his life. A journey he was convinced would rewrite human history. Unlike his previous missions, this time he was not accompanied by a large exploration team, but only by his 22-year-old son, Jack Fawcett, and his son's close friend, Raleigh Rimmel. The three men carried with them unshakable belief, a carefully crafted plan, and a determination to reach the ultimate boundary between legend and truth, a place Fawcett called the City of Z. After venturing deep into the Mat Grosso region, a vast, largely uncharted jungle, they sent a final letter to Percy's wife, stating they had arrived at a location he called the Dead Point, the last known position before entering territory completely absent from any map. From that moment on, the world never heard from them again. No distress signals, no handwritten notes, no one ever returned. The disappearance of a man as experienced as Fawcett, former military officer, seasoned explorer, and someone who had lived and worked in the Amazon for over 20 years, left the public stunned. Many believe that he and the two young men had discovered something beyond imagination and paid the ultimate price to protect its secret forever. After the disappearance of Percy Fawcett and his two companions without a trace, the world was swept into a frenzy to uncover the truth. Over the following decades, more than 100 people joined expeditions in an effort to locate him. But instead of clues, these searches only led to more deaths. Some teams became lost in the jungle. Others were attacked by hostile tribes, and many died from starvation, malaria, or wild animals. Rather than solving the mystery, these efforts only made the story even more legendary. The fact that so many lives were lost in pursuit of one missing man led the public to believe that Fawcett had indeed discovered something monumental. Perhaps he chose to stay. Or worse, he may have been forced to remain by those determined to keep the secrets of the lost city of Z forever buried in the jungle. More than 90 years have passed since Percy Fawcett vanished into the Amazon jungle, and to this day, no definitive evidence has ever emerged about his fate. Yet, countless theories have been proposed, each reflecting a piece of the haunting mystery that his story has left behind. One of the most common theories suggests that Fawcett may have been killed by a hostile tribe. The region he entered was known to be inhabited by indigenous groups with a history of attacking outsiders. However, Fawcett himself was renowned for his ability to communicate and negotiate peacefully with native tribes, which makes this theory plausible, but not entirely convincing. Another theory holds that he died due to an accident or illness, perhaps attacked by wild animals, bitten by venomous snakes, or succumbing to malaria. All very real threats in the Amazon. But if this were the case, why has no one ever found his body, journal, or any of his personal belongings? A more captivating theory is that Fawcett actually discovered the lost city of Z and chose to stay, perhaps because he encountered an ancient isolated community and wished to protect them from the outside world. Others believe that Z is a sacred land, and anyone who enters is never allowed to leave. According to this view, Fawcett and his companions may have been executed or imprisoned forever so that the secret would never be revealed. For decades, archaeologists believed that the Amazon was home only to small nomadic tribes, with no evidence of any large-scale civilization. However, recent discoveries have shaken that traditional view. Thanks to advances in modern technologies like LAR, light detection and ranging, satellite imagery, and in-depth excavations, scientists have uncovered numerous traces of ancient man-made structures hidden beneath the dense Amazonian canopy. Among the most striking findings are perfectly straight roads, symmetrically planned settlements, complex canal systems along with moats, earthen walls, and foundations dating back thousands of years. These discoveries indicate that the Amazon was once home to large, densely populated urban centers with organized infrastructure and a level of engineering far beyond what was previously assumed. One prominent example is the work of archaeologist Michael Hiesenberger in an area known as the Shinga Complex. There he uncovered the remains of a city dating back to the 13th century, featuring carefully planned layouts, central plazas, defensive structures, and clearly defined residential zones, proving that the Amazon not only hosted inhabitants, but once supported a highly developed urban civilization. The life and mysterious death of Percy Fawcett left an indelible mark on the history of exploration. He wasn't just an explorer. He was a symbol of courage, of unwavering belief in truths science had yet to uncover, and of a man willing to risk everything in the pursuit of discovery. Today, the questions remain. Was the lost city of Z real? And where did Fawcett go? Perhaps someday, an archaeological team will uncover the answer in the shadowy depths of the Amazon. But until then, the story of the missing city and the man who vanished with it will continue to live on in the minds of those who are drawn to mystery, history, and the thrill of the unknown.